Good evening, folks. This is Jay, and you are listening to the Cold Takes Gaming Radio Show. Today, we're going to cover a myriad of issues, and we are going to start off with our next giveaway. So, we have a $20 Nintendo eShop card that we are going to be giving away to anyone who is a follower on our Twitch over at Cold Nights Gaming and attends and comments on one of the streams Friday, Saturday, or Sunday of this week. If you do that, you will be entered in, and we will pick a random name, and we will announce the winner on Monday morning. So, that's a pretty fun thing to look forward to. Tonight, even though you won't see this till Saturday morning, we are streaming Streets of Rage 4, and I will have a special guest, Brandon. So if you're listening to this Saturday and you didn't catch that, we will upload the VOD to YouTube, so you can enjoy it there, or you can watch it on Twitch, either one. So we should have some good stuff coming up this weekend on Twitch, and also we'll be releasing this podcast on Saturday morning. So remember, attend any of those streams this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, be a follower, and comment, and you will be entered to win. So, the first subject we're going to get to tonight is the issues that have been popping up across the internet with the Wii U. Now, I am not an engineer, I am not a professional in electronics, but I did read up on it a little bit, and it seems that the problem, however rare it is, has to do with how the memory is written within the system. And there is a technique called Nand memory, and it basically, my understanding of it, is it writes the memory as a binary code, and zeros are the charged cells on the board, and ones are the not charged cells on the board. And I guess the problem can be because of maybe some poor programming or scripting, that this charge may not hold if the system is not used for a long period of time. So that could be a bad deal. I have not seen a ton of reports that it's happening, but that it's happening at all is a concern. And I learned something more this morning that concerned me even more. And that was that our beloved Switch game carts use a similar, although better applied, process. The same NAND memory. And that experts were saying that the carts may only have 20 to 30 years of usefulness in them. And that's concerning because I just can't imagine that 30 years from now, when I am in my 60s, and I'm looking through my game collection, if I'm still collecting games then, and I assume I will be, that my Switch games will no longer work. So, I see so many people, and I have a couple of good friends that are big into game preservation, and I really wonder if a lot of people aren't aware of this. You kind of thought you were immune to things like disk rot when you're using a cartridge or card-based system. So this kind of brings up a new concern. And I don't know what to think of it. And again, I'm not an expert in any of these fields. So if any of you have more insight on what's going on with the Wii U, or the possibility of it happening to Switch carts as well, let me know in the comments, because it is concerning. And it could pose a real threat to game preservation. And if it is true, it kind of makes you possibly reconsider that all-digital future. Digital games can be stored. They can be backed up. But if the card won't hold a charge, it's going to basically be a little brick that you're holding in your hand. So I don't know if that's really the case. If any of you know better than I, please share. I hope it isn't the case, but it is concerning nonetheless. So if I see more reports of the Wii U's bricking up or acting up, I will certainly share that with everybody. Mine is healthy. I've been streaming on it. I had not used it for about a year, so hopefully that did not do any damage to it. But it is working fine. and I'm quickly trying to fill it and its extended storage with games before The eShop closes on the 27th. So, with that being said, that's going to bring me to my next point. And the next topic of the show is the issues I've been running into recently with backwards compatibility and just being able to play the games we love without a massive amount of hassle. So what's bringing this up for me is I have been streaming very actively recently, as many of you know. And with the release of Ryza 3 on the horizon, I wanted to share my favorite installment in the Atelier series with my listeners and viewers. And my favorite is Atelier Maruru, all right, originally on the PS3. I have the original PS3 copy, and I also have the trilogy on the PS3 as well, which has actually become quite valuable. So I do have them physically, and I do have a working PS3, but I do not like the PS3. I liked it during its heyday, but realistically, compared to all the modern systems, the Wii U included, the interface on the PS3 is incredibly laggy and frustrating to use. And the system is prone to a ton of problems, and mine, at least, sounds like a goddamn jet engine when I turn it on. So, honestly, I do not want to dig it out and plug it in to stream. And so, my next logical step was remembering that almost all of the classic Atelier games were on PlayStation Plus. So, I boot up the PS5, which hadn't been turned on for months because I've converted to Switch, but I did. And I go to PS Plus, which I pay a pretty goddamn penny for. I have the maxed out membership. I pay for it yearly. I almost had a goddamn heart attack when that hit my bank account in January. I was not expecting that massive charge, but whatever. It's still a great value. So, I loaded up, and sure enough, it seems a mere weeks before I went to look for them, the Atelier games were removed from PS Plus. So, now, I have the original software and hardware, which I really don't want to use. The secondary way of playing it, digitally through streaming or download, and PS Plus, is no longer viable. So, I turn on the Nintendo Switch, and sure enough, Atelier Maruru DX is $39.99. For a game that is many years old, that is no longer graphically impressive. As much as I love it, let's be honest. That, compared to the newer games, does have somewhat archaic gameplay. And I'm expected to pay $39.99 for it. Now, before anybody says the DX games have some of the DLC and all that, I don't play those games for the DLC outfits. I'm not one of those guys that wants to see those little girls in swimsuits. I love Maruru. I love her original character design. I have never changed her outfit in any of the times that I've played that game, the 2 or 3 times I've played it through. So to me, a slew of new outfits and a little bit of extra content is not worth a early to mid PS3 game being $39.99. So this brings up a unique quandary here. When there's a game you want to play, or you want to share with your friends, or stream, or cover on YouTube, and you need to be able to stream it, be able to capture footage from it, in many cases, especially from that kind of awkward time, and this is going to get worse as those eShops close down, how in the hell are we supposed to do that? How are we supposed to enjoy and share the games we love with our family and friends and our viewers and listeners? It is quickly becoming not only almost impossible, but when it is possible, it's becoming very expensive. And that is a huge concern. That is a huge concern from a game preservation standpoint, and it is a huge concern from a spending standpoint. I think it is outrageous to charge $39.99 for that game. I would not have made this rant if the game had been $14.99 or $9.99. To me, that might be acceptable. But to pay $40 for the game is absurd. And yes, I did. And you can call it whatever you want. Call it FOMO. Call it just being thick-headed and wanting to do something. But goddammit, I wanted to share a game that I love with the people I love. And I had a real hard damn time doing it. And that's a bad deal. No matter what kind of player or collector you are, that sucks. So my simple solution to this is making these games either A, widely available at affordable prices digitally, or B, for the games that are extremely popular, making new physical releases for them at a reduced cost. This needs to happen. And I'm not talking about the business aspect of it. I don't care about that. That's not what this is about. That's not the subject of this podcast. The podcast tonight is about not being able to easily play the games you love. And that sucks. And I don't have a lot more to say about it. But in the comments, let me know, guys, what you think about it. Because my next topic kind of echoes that concern. That the times that they have re-released or remastered or remade these games, they often suck. They are poorly optimized, they have game-breaking bugs in them at release, or they're obscenely expensive. Let's take a look at something like the Tales of Symphonia release. I have many friends on Twitter and YouTube who are enjoying it. But I also have many friends who are not. And they say that it's poorly optimized and there's other various problems with the gameplay. The Resident Evil 3 remake was shallow and awful. If you want someone to experience that story and they don't have access to those original carts, or they don't have a PS3 that has those games from the PSN store digitally, they gotta play that piece of shit? That's awful. That is truly awful. And let's not forget that Legend of Dragoon, according to some, had game-breaking bugs in it when it was released. Again, I'm not an engineer. I'm not an expert in programming or electronics. But how hard can it be to take a game that old and put it into this amazing new modern-day hardware? For real. I understand that there's different environments that the things were programmed for, that there may have been loss of original files, but come on. Now, some people say they fixed it and the game's okay now. I hope that's true. Thankfully, I haven't heard any real bad things about the Metroid Prime that they released, except for the fact that they inadvertently released quite a few too few to start with. And hopefully it was inadvertent. Hopefully they were not doing like a little 2-week FOMO dig. I hope that's not the case. I have no reason to believe it is, but it's hard to trust people these days, especially some of these video game companies. But when the other option is these games that are being re-released and remastered and remade, and a good portion of them are complete garbage. Let's not forget the NIS printing collections, where in the beloved Rhapsody game, there was game-breaking bugs. I literally bought that for that game. I didn't care about the other ones on it. What happens when I get to that point and that bug is there? That's awful. That is awful. And yes, they may release patches for them. But again, from the video game preservation standpoint, we should not be doing that. It's bad business. So it just seems like we're in quite a mess with wanting to play anything that's not a brand new modern game. And that just sucks. So, guys, let me know down in the comments what you think about the remasters, the remakes, the re-releases, their pricing, their quality, their availability, and the fact that it can be awful damn hard to play old games that you love. Let's get a discussion going down there. So, next topic, one that's happier. on Twitter earlier in the week, I put out a question, and I did get a couple of responses for things people would like to see me cover on the radio show. And I got some wonderful responses from Milla's Game Room and from my good friend Manganzu. And I kind of want to go over my answers to them. So Milla asked, had I played any Otome games? And which ones? So we're going to go back to the PSP. And I have very fond memories of bringing Hakuoki games with me on vacations and playing them when I had downtime, when I wasn't out partying or at the pool or at the beach. They were a great way to pass the time. Wonderful bachelors. I loved the time period pieces, and I'm super excited for the Hakuoki High School games that they're going to come out with. Definitely very curious to see what those are like. But some other ones I enjoyed. I really enjoyed Color X Malice. And some more recent ones, Birsana was really good. I really liked that story. It was really fun. That was about the princess that was hiding in plain sight as a young warrior, and that was cool. Really liked that. And then one that I did not like recently that I played was Amnesia Memories. Like I said, I was talking about it in a post the other day, the beginning of the game is incredibly boring. Almost put it down boring. But I will say, as someone that does love those pretty boy anime bachelors, some of the best. They are extremely cute, extremely sexy. So it is worth it for that if you can sit through about an hour and a half of garbage in the beginning. And apparently some of the story that I did not experience and some of the endings can be apparently a little traumatic for some people, according to some posts I read. So maybe watch out for that. So that one kind of maybe not so good. But another great one that I've been playing in the horror genre is, and so maybe it's not an Otome, but we'll lump it in there because it's a VN, Corpse Factory. There's no romance, but it is brutal, and it is a lovely story. And the art is great, and it has some real shocking twists and turns in it. We did stream it a little bit, so sorry for that one, Milla. It is not an Otome, but it is a visual novel, so we're going to lump that in there so I can give that one a little push. But yeah, I have a ton. Unfortunately, I'm the kind of person that constantly buys them because I love playing them, but often I don't get to them because sitting through them can take quite a chunk of time, and they get really addictive, and sometimes you don't have 3 or 4 hours to just sit there and vegetate while enjoying those stories. I wish I had more time to do that, but yes, I have quite a backlog of them. I pretty much buy any new one that comes out. Because there's definitely a FOMO thing there for me, because they can sometimes attain a pretty good value, and they go off the shelves pretty quick at GameStop. So, yeah, I love VNs, I love Otomes, and yeah. Thank you for the question, Milla. Always appreciate your input, and you are a great friend and subscriber. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to get to Manganzu's questions, and then we're going to talk about nostalgia. We'll be right back. And we are back for the second half of the Cold Takes radio show. So, we're going to get to my good friend Manganzu's question right away that he submitted on Twitter. It's kind of a two-parter. The first thing he said was, perhaps a discussion on how gaming connects and reflects your other hobbies and interests. So, here comes said discussion. So, I would say that my two biggest hobbies and interests other than gaming are baseball and writing and consuming fiction. I'm an avid reader and writer. I have been since I was a youth. I've never been able to put a good book down, and I'm constantly working on the great American horror novel or suspense novel or espionage novel. I've worked on all of those in the past, and they're all still waiting to get finished. Every year, I spend an exorbitant amount of money on MLB The Show. I play the game for hundreds of hours, and totally fall into the gotcha baseball packs that you can buy to get better players for your team to play online. This year will be the first year that I am trying to refrain. I'm not buying the game at launch to try to save some money, but we'll see how that goes. I'll probably end up picking it up because I can't help myself. But as of now, I'm not going to. And second is my deep love of JRPGs, because they tell wonderful, dramatic stories. I really, really like getting into real depth with the characters. I know some of you have heard my podcast where I kind of went in depth about the story and characters in Final Fantasy VII. I've actually considered making content that explores stories of games more in depth with the themes and different character aspects. I really enjoy all of that. So those are definitely two things that my gaming habits connect to in my real life. The other thing he brought up was the JRPG controversy engulfing the Final Fantasy community. Guys, I don't have a lot to say on this. I don't care what the hell you call the games you're playing. Just play them and enjoy them. I don't care if you call it a JRPG. I don't care if you call it an RPG. I don't care if you call it a turn-based game. I don't care what the hell you call it. Just play it. And if someone cares, let them care. I'm going to just play the games, and if I call it a JRPG, I call it a JRPG. If I call it an RPG, I call it an RPG. I think it's really something that someone made a mountain out of a molehill here. If you're really that sensitive about the term Japanese being attributed to the game, that's insane. I know that some people believe that in the past it was used in a defamatory or derogatory way towards games, saying that they're all the same, or they're all following the same story, or they're boring. Absolutely not. I actually think it's a superlative term. Japanese fiction, history, everything about Japan has always enamored me. So for me, it's a term of endearment. So I'm going to continue using it. And if you don't like it, I don't care. So yeah, there we go. Magazu, thank you for your questions. Hopefully I upset everybody. That's what we aim to do here. So we're going to get right into what I want to talk about next, and that is nostalgia. So I've made videos in the past on my YouTube channel talking about nostalgia from my youth in gaming, and even going up into my late teens and early 20s. And I actually caught the tail end of a discussion a couple of weeks ago about, will today's games be able to affect the same feeling of nostalgia in us that games of yesteryear did? And I think that question is loaded, and I think the answer is certainly nuanced. So where I'm coming from on it is, am I playing incredible games now that I will have memories of? Yes. I just finished Fire Emblem Engage a couple of weeks ago, and I would say that that's one of the best games I've played in quite some time. When I think of something like Elden Ring or Resident Evil The Village, currently playing Octopath Traveler 2. And all of these games are leaving me with wonderful memories and impressions. But as we chase nostalgia and wonder if it will be present in the future, we have to remember that nostalgia is something that is specifically tied to events in the distant past, or to our youth, or events of great import. As much as I love video games, and the games that I'm playing now, they are not forming me. I am a fully formed 39-year-old adult. They're not going to sway my opinions on anything. They're not going to really open me to new experiences. So as memorable and as wonderful as they may be, I don't think they're going to be able to reach the same level of nostalgia as a game that I played during my formative years that may have impacted my preferences in movies and fiction. Something like Silent Hill or Resident Evil. Something that may have impacted my attractions as an adult, like the Final Fantasy series with characters like Rinoa and Kuja. There's just not going to be something that will form thoughts and habits and memories in my mind the same way as something that I experienced during my formative years. That doesn't mean that I won't remember some of the greatest things that I experienced in my 30s as a gamer, But realistically, and this is just the truth, and I'd like to see in the comments how many of you feel similarly, I played a lot of great games in my 20s and early 30s. And I can tell you the titles of them. I might be able to tell you about a few plot points in them. But oftentimes, to really participate in a discussion on Twitter or on a message board or something, I have to look it up on Wikipedia for refreshers for some of the things about the characters of the story, or remembering certain aspects of the gameplay or combat. I don't have to look up anything about Silent Hill 2. I don't have to look up anything about Final Fantasy 6 through 10. Those games are imprinted on my mind because of the time in my life when I played them. So, I think that looking back, nothing can ever have the same effect. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that we should enjoy the games that we're playing now, enjoy them for what they're worth, and know that there are people coming up now, teenagers, kids that are 8 or 9 years old, that may be playing games like Octopath and like Fire Emblem Engage. And those may make beautiful, nostalgic memories for them. So, as adults who may have children, who may have nieces and nephews, who may have young ones around us that are coming into that wonderful formative time in their life, we just need to be there and support them and make sure they got plenty of games to make memories with. And that we don't hold gaming against them. And that, yes, they should consume it in moderation, but let's allow them to make those memories. The memories that we can't. Because, yes, I'll remember Fire Emblem Engage, but it's not going to change my life, honestly. It doesn't mean it's still not beautiful, because it definitely was. But do your best to be there for the young ones in your life and expose them to the great things in gaming. As a father, my son's 13, and I know when he looks back, he's going to remember playing Lego City Undercover and Minecraft and Scribblenauts with me. And that's beautiful. And I will have nostalgia for that with him. That is a formative thing as an adult, whether it's with your own biological children, or whether it's with nieces or nephews, or the children of your friends. You can make nostalgic memories because you're forming an emotional bond with them over video games. So let's turn our attention to that, instead of arguing about the quality of games nowadays, and if they'll be able to bring about those same feelings. For us, it may be too late. But for these kids, let's help them make the memories. So, that is all we have for today's solo radio show. We will be welcoming guests back next week. I should be doing a show, hopefully, with Allie. And I do have one in the works with a couple friends about mental health and content creation. So I definitely look forward to that. We're trying to space the podcasts or radio shows out a little bit so they're not 2 or 3 days apart, so that they have some time to ripen and get some views and get some listeners. For a while there, we were kind of releasing them close together, and I think people may have skipped on them because, honestly, there's only so much time in the day to consume content. And I appreciate every one of you, but I understand that you can't listen to me all day, every day. So, with that being said, I thank you all for listening. If you're not, please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, stay creepy.